maybe UFC, they can build on me. I was only 23, 24, so they can see I have talent. And then like 2 weeks after, oh, you cut. I'm like, what the fuck?
All right, guys, we got the number 6 Bellator Featherweight here. Mads Burnell, a great fighter, a highly credentialed fighter in the combat sports world. I'm a big fan, you know, from the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to the MMA. He's done a lot. What's going on, man? How's it going today?
What's up, man? I just wrapped up the World Cup finals.
Yeah, right. You
With the
saw
friend.
that. What a
Yeah,
game, huh?
yeah, that was a cool game, man. I'm happy Messi won, so it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, as a
I wish
Barcelona
it.
fan, I am too. So
Yeah, I really don't give a fuck about football because that is football. I don't give a shit. But like the World Cup, I always watch. I was really hoping that it was gonna be Ronaldo and Messi in the finals, but hey, it is what it is. And you know, it's cool to see Messi. This was gonna be his last World Cup probably, and
yeah,
he got it done. So that was cool. I'm happy for him.
yeah, that was cool, man. That was honestly one of the best games I've ever seen. From like the
Yeah, it
minute
was.
80 on, from when they were scored the first goal, I was like, oh my God, just
Yeah,
back and
it
forth.
was a good ass game.
Yeah, man, it was awesome. And you know, as a Spain fan, it's kind of disappointing to watch the World Cup once they get eliminated, but it was cool. And I'm sure you know you wanted to see Denmark in it as well, but maybe the next one.
Man, Denmark, they fucking suck all across the board. They suck. They always suck. And then when we all get on the on the bandwagon of like, oh, Denmark, they suck, then all of a sudden they perform and they go to the semifinals in the European Cup. I'm like, what the fuck? Then we have expectations. Oh, they're gonna do good in the World Cup. Then they get beat the fuck out of them by what was it? Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, maybe the next one. You know what I mean? There's a lot of good teams in there, and you can only hope for the best. Speaking of Denmark, right? That's a country where you were born in. Is that where you are right now? It is, right?
I'm back home right now. Yeah. I'm
Nice,
back
man.
home.
Nice. And you know, what's sort of the process, right? Because you train in America, correct?
Yeah.
So when you got a fight camp, what is it? You just head out there right away?
Right away, pretty much. Like this year, I think I've been back in Denmark for some like 3 months or something. So I've been primarily in America. I had to go home now to get my visa fixed. So and of course celebrate Christmas with the fam. But
Yeah, of
I'm good to
course.
go, and I should be back out pretty soon as well.
Yeah, and you're talking about that you should be back out pretty soon. I mean, look, from 2000, what, like 15, I think it was, to I think it was like to like 2021, you fought like 18 times or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like you fought yeah, like I actually had to count that up to like, I was like, is that correct? But yeah, from like 2015 to like, I think 20, well, to now, you fought like 18 times. Did I say 2021? From like 2015 to now, you fought about 18 times. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you want me to read off the names to you, but you have, and that's kind of crazy to me. So it makes me want to ask you the question of, is that something you would like to continue? Do you want to stay active?
Man, I don't think I'm active enough. I want to fight like I want to fight like the old school boxers, like you know,
Right.
all the time. The only thing that kind of holds me back from doing that is pretty brutal. But in reality, I would like to fight like every other weekend. I love fighting, and yeah, I just love it.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know,
Mm.
speaking of fights, right? There was another stretch from like 2018 to 21, I think, where you were on like a 7-fight win streak, man. So, as someone who knows himself better than anyone else, right? I would think you know yourself better than anyone. What do you think it's going to take for you to get back on the winning track, get back to where you were?
No, it's nothing special. It's just doing me. You know, I don't have problem with losses as long as I perform. So, for example, the Borix fight, it didn't go my way, but I performed. Where the Pedro Cavallo fight, if I fought my mother in that fight, she would have beat my ass. That's
Right.
the worst performance of my career. So, you know, wins and losses doesn't really matter to me. Of course, I want to win, but I want to perform. I want to put on killer performance like Borix, like Sanchez, like Rogers, like you know, like I usually do. So it's just going in there and doing me, you know.
And I heard you say that after the last fight. I also heard you say that it's something that, you know, I would imagine like any loss in life, right? It's something that stings, right? Have you been able to sort of, you know, recover from that reconcentrate and look ahead now? Is that where you are
Oh
now?
yeah, I'm super super hungry, man. I just want to get in there, like I I really want to get in there in March,
March.
and then I
Okay.
would like 3 or 4 fights this year.
Nice, man. Yeah, you want to continue active, right? That's
Yeah,
usually what we're used to seeing from you. In your last two fights, man, you're facing again. You just brought it up, Boris and Carvalho, right? When you face guys like that, right, at the top of the sport, at the top of the division, is there any room for error at all? Like, does everything have to be perfect in these camps? Like, can the slightest thing just throw everything off when you're facing guys all the way at the top of a division of this caliber?
I mean, people would like to say like, "Oh, there's no room for error," but we all do errors when we're in there, like small errors. Like if I didn't do any mistakes, I wouldn't get touched. You know what I mean? And you can't swim without getting your feet wet. It's the same in fighting. You can't fight without getting touched. So we all do mistakes, but it's how you cope with it afterwards and try to correct your wrongs. So
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
there is there is not room for making mistakes, but there is room for making mistakes. And I know it's like kind of weird saying, but that's how I feel.
No, yeah, for sure. I'm sure you have to sort of throw yourself into the line of fire if you want to
Mm,
do something and you have to, if you want to win fights, I'm sure you have to, put yourself into the fire, right? That's kind of how it
yeah.
goes. At number 6 in the division, right? Despite the two losses against, again, very good guys that we just brought up, do you still see like a route in your head to the championship? Do you see like, all right, I got to beat this guy, this guy, and this guy? Not specific names, but do you see your route to the championship
Yeah,
next couple years?
but I always say this. It's a boring answer. I'm not focused on the championship. I want to be world champion, but I cannot focus on that. What I can focus on is going in the cage and perform and do me. And when I perform, it's gonna be like, what do you say? It's gonna be logic where I'm gonna be ending up. I just go in there and do me. I just want to be active, make some killer ass fights, some entertaining fights, where I can, when I'm old and I'm sitting with my grandkids and be like, yo, I put this tape on. I'm like, man, look at Grandpa. He was a crazy ass motherfucker when I show him the tape. And I hope I'm answering your question. I'm going a little bit off track right now, but I'm not really focused on the championship. Of course, I want to be champion, but I'm just focused on the journey right now. Focused on being better. Focused on getting in there, being active, um, and making killer performances, controlling what I can control.
For sure. And you say that you'd like to, show perhaps future grandkids, family, whatever the case may be, some of your highlights one day in the future, right? Like, what is the ultimate goal for you in this? Because I mean, yeah, you could say it's obviously to be champion, but you'd be surprised. Like, there's fighters that say, you know what, I just want people to know that I was a tough fighter and I always came to show up. There's others that say, I just want to have great highlights out there, just like what you said, show my kids one day. Others that
So,
say they want to be champion. Like, what's the end goal for you? Because it
so
doesn't
for
have to
me,
necessarily be champion.
there's a couple. There's a couple. So there's a couple for me, and it's I almost kind of gotten that, but in a way not. For me, I don't give a fuck about the casuals. For me, it's like when I see, let's say I see Ray Seffel, a dude I've been looking up to, James Toney, or like I don't know, like Habib or whatever. It could be whatever fighter. Some fighters, old school fighters that I've been looking up to, and they be like, "Yeah, man, this guy Mass, he's a bad motherfucker, man." They see what I'm doing, like so. Getting respect from the dudes I looked up to my peers, or if you can call it my peers, but the dudes I looked up to, the OGs, and making banger fights that I can show my grandkids and getting the championships. Those three I have to check off.
Is there like a ranking to any of those though? Is anyone more important than the other? Or is
I
it
don't
just those
care.
three?
I hope, what is it? I dream of having a fight like Arturo Gatti, Mickey Ward, but I hope I never get it.
I see what you mean. So
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's kind
but
of
that's the type
an
of fights I
interesting
want
thing
to
to
do.
explain, but I know exactly what
Yeah,
you're saying. Yeah.
yeah.
And listen, man, I mean, when you look at the future in Bellator, right? It sounds like you very much want to put on exciting fights. Is there anyone you haven't faced in your division that you look at that and you're like,
Yes.
that'd be a fun fight. That'd be a war.
Yeah. I see, and he called me out actually, and I actually went on Twitter and said, "Let's fucking go, Justin Gonzalez. He's number
Okay,
7. I like to
sure.
fight that dude and Daniel Weichel."
So we got number 9 and the number 7 guy right behind you. Those
Yeah,
are two fights that you'd be interested in.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I've,
think
I've
you
been
and
calling.
Weishel would be a great fight.
I've been calling out Weishel for a long time, but he doesn't really respond. And my boy Kai, he fought Justin and lost a split decision, but I actually think he won that fight. But anyway, but yeah, I'd love to fight Justin. He has a good record, but yeah, but that I don't think like his record is what do you call it? His record is good, but I don't think that's what shows in the cage, if you know what I'm saying. But I,
Sure.
I mean, I respect him. He seems like a dog and shit like that, and that will be a banger fight. I'm not saying he's a bad fighter. He's a very good fighter. He's where he's at for a reason, but that would be a banger fight, and he seems like a dog too.
Yeah, and the good thing is that you a couple fights ago you signed a multi-fight deal with Bellator, right? So it's safe to
Yeah.
say that your future lies ahead there,
Oh
and
yeah.
you're gonna have the chance to face those guys, I would think, right down the line.
Yeah, yeah. But Baisha will be fun too, because that dude is like a legend in European MMA.
I
He
want to see
started.
that fight, man. I want to see that fight.
Yeah, he been fighting since 2002 or four or something. He fought in Denmark when I was 10 years old. He fought on a card in Denmark,
Crazy.
something called European Altitude. It's crazy. The dude is still going strong.
So, and it's funny because you talk about Denmark and the whole European scene, right? When you were fighting on the European scene, you amassed like an 8-1 record. You were one of the best prospects, right? What do you think was different from your mentality then to now? Because obviously you have to be different, right? You're fighting at a top tier promotion now. You're a much older man, right? You mature with the years. What's different about you? Like, what are the main differences?
I think the main difference between me and fucking 99.9% of the Danish athletes is, you know, I feel like the Danish athletes, they just listen to the coaches blindly, if you know what I'm saying. Like, oh, the coaches be like, oh, this is what we've been doing when I was fighting, and this is what we always been doing, so we keep doing that. Where I've been like, no, motherfucker, like that's shit what you're showing. I've always tried to look at like new techniques. I never taken no for an answer. Like always trying to study other like regions, like the Eastern Bloc, how they fight, how the Americans fight, how all that shit. Where I think a lot of the Danish athletes just like, oh, okay, coach, yes, yes, oh, and they don't,
They
they are
stay
not,
in one location as well. Is
yeah,
that what
they
it
they
is?
they stay in one location and they're not constructively criticizing in their head what the coach is saying. Like they're not thinking about it. They're just like, oh, okay, okay, even though it could be freaking wrong what they get shown. But I think it's in Danish sports in general where like if you have to go to sports over here, you have to go to a club. It's not at school or stuff like that. So for example, if you're very talented in soccer, the coach would be like, no, 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 you need to keep your ego down. Don't dribble. Blah, blah, blah. You need to be a team player. Blah, blah, blah. And then they kind of like break your talent in a way. They don't let you blossom. You know what I mean?
Sure. They
And
almost
and,
want
and
you to only grow within the country, almost
yeah,
kind of.
yeah, they want you to be like, oh, if everybody can't be it, nobody should be it. Nobody should be allowed to be it. And I think that's like the Danish mentality in a lot of sports. I'm not saying there is, of course, great coaches out here as well, but majority of the coaches is like trying to keep the talent down, like not trying to make the talent blossom. They think they're making it blossom, but like if you look at Danish sports history, fuck,
Would
there's
you say
nothing.
that that's a reason why you left and went to
Oh,
America?
oh, but that was always my dream since I went to high school. It was always my dream to go to America. I never thought I was gonna go because I'm shit scared of flying, but hey, I got my ass over there.
Hey, you're a fighter, man. You can't be scared of flying anymore, right?
Man, I'm scared of flying. I'm scared of roller coasters. I'm fuck that shit.
The roller coaster one I don't trust because people are
Yeah.
pretty bad at their jobs. Maybe this guy doesn't tighten the
Yeah.
screw and
Yeah,
whatever.
you say that and you're not scared of flying? Shit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess sometimes I get a little paranoid because I watch like movies and shit like that and too many
Yeah.
YouTube videos and
It's
all
it's
that.
it's
But
kind of fucked up. It's almost like every time I'm about to fly, the day before I'm flying, I stumble across uh what is it called? Like mm, crash investigations or
I
some
love
shit like
those
that.
videos. That's what I'm saying.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, ah, why am I watching this? Fuck, it's too good. Let me keep
They're always
watching.
the best ones. the
Right.
airplane ones, right? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
funny, man. But so what were we talking about? We were talking about moving to America, right? And I was going to ask you, or moving to America for fighting, rather. But I was going to ask you also is that I saw you at and this is a good tying question with what we were just talking about. I've seen you at Teixeira, I mean at Xtreme Couture. We've seen you at other locations. What is that sort of what you took, the lessons you took? Is you can only get so good in one location. Do you like to move around when you train?
No, I like to get my routine and like stick to that. So yeah, I don't really like to move around. Then you can get new guys to train with, especially at Xtreme Couture. There's people from all around the world coming
For
in
sure.
like every other day. So even if I don't want to move around, people is gonna come to Extreme, and then I can and train with them.
It's a hell of a gym, man.
Yeah,
What's that
it's
like?
super
What's it
cool.
like training there?
Oh, it's super cool. There's, yeah, what can I say? It's like being a kid in the candy store. It's everybody from Russia, America, Brazil, uh, England, like every part of the planet. There's people, so you can learn from everybody.
For sure. And, you know, as far as your progression as a fighter since you've been there, do you feel like you've improved dramatically? Well, first of all, how long have you been there? When did you start going there?
I've been coming on and off to Extreme Couture since 2017, but
Okay.
since 2020, I've pretty much been there almost full time. I've only been back home quick for like quick stops and shit like that.
So you come back home for like holidays, things like that, right?
Yeah, a month or
Rest,
two, and then I go back out.
for sure.
Yeah,
So listen, man, as humans, over time experiences, we mature a lot, right? And
yeah.
it's kind of a similar question to the one I asked you before, but I'm kind of interested in getting your opinion on this one. A long time ago, you were in the UFC. Maybe things didn't go the way you wanted. Now you're in Bellator. You're one of the top guys in the world. What's the difference between your mentality from the young man that was signed to the UFC to the grown man that was signed to Bellator and then not got re-signed to Bellator and is still doing well in Bellator at the top of the division? What's been the main difference between those two people?
To be honest, I just think it's being more mature as a man and as a human being. Because when I got signed to UFC, I was ready. Technically, I could hang with everybody, but up here, I was not. And then, to be honest, I think I got a fair shake in UFC either. My first fight was a short notice fight against a lightweight who was on a 5 fight win streak, who actually missed the weight with like 3 or 4 pounds, Michel Praceres, who also beat Gilbert Burns and my big Tyson. I took that on like 2, 3 weeks notice. My second fight, shit performance, I won. And my third fight, I fought Arnold Allen, who I ragdolled for like
Yeah,
two and
you
a
were
half
winning
rounds.
most of the
And
fight
with
until the end.
most, I was winning the whole fucking fight.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
could have, and then with 2 minutes left, he choked me. Hats off to him. That was cool. And then I got caught. And I was like, what the fuck? Because everybody knew Allen was a big talent, and I was beating his ass. So I would be like, oh, maybe UFC, they can see, they can build on me. I was only 23, 24. So they can see I have talent. And then like 2 weeks after, oh, you cut. I'm like, what the fuck?
So that was surprising, right? You weren't expecting that or was there a little
No,
bit of expecting? A
I
little
mean,
bit?
every time you lose a fight in one of the big organizations, you always like, oh, are they gonna cut me or whatever? But I was thinking that at that time, but I was like, no, they can see like I did a good fight, so they can see they can build on me. But then,
So yeah, of
but
course. And listen, man, it seems like you like where you are right now, right? Do you see Bellator as like a long-term home for you?
almost definitely, I really appreciate how uh, Bellator have been treating me and the fights they've been giving me, and it's a cool ass promotion. The people that works there, Jude, Kogan, Scott Kogan, like all the people around Bellator, Danny Brenner, like they're all super cool people, and yeah, it's been a blast so far.
Absolutely, man. And
Yeah,
speaking of fighting, I've heard you say that in life, your whole purpose is fighting, right? That's kind of what gets you up, right?
yeah.
Outside of fighting, is there anything that comes close? Like, what's second place to you in terms of excitement?
Seriously, there's nothing. I don't know what the
Really?
fuck I'm gonna do with my day if I don't go to spar or grapple or whatever. Yeah, I can play FIFA or I can play basketball, but that can only keep me concentrated for like 10, 15 minutes, and then I have to do something. It's not the same going lifting weights or going for a jog or playing soccer or whatever. There's nothing like fighting another man. Yeah,
Definitely a thrill, huh?
yeah. No, but
Yeah.
it's not even like it's a thrill. I think it's fun. It's like playing with your boys, like running around when you were a kid playing with your boys. It's the same. That's how I feel with fighting. It's just fun.
What about the pain and all that stuff? Do you also embrace that stuff as part of the fun, like getting
Yeah,
cut
but I
open
don't.
and all that?
Yeah, but you don't feel that when you're in there.
Really?
Yeah, you don't feel that.
So if you get cut, like a
The
big cut
most
on your
the most
forehead,
pain the
nothing?
most the most pain I felt was in the Borix fight. After the fight, we low calf kicked each other a lot, so my left calf was all swollen, and then it went into my knee. So it was like I had a silicone tit on my knee. My knee was all like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's the most pain, and I there's nothing just to laugh about it. But that's the most pain I probably felt. But yeah, you don't feel it when you're in there.
Oh man, crazy. Definitely not for
I
me,
think
but I
most
love to
fighters will
watch.
tell you that.
What was
I
that?
think most fighters will tell you you don't really feel it until you walk out the cage.
Kind of the adrenaline, right? It's kind of like if you're in a street fight, right? Somebody slams you on the floor, you're almost not going to feel it, right? You're going to pop back up.
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of fights, man, pre-fight traditions, I've heard you say, the Coca-Cola, Italian food. Is that something you plan to do in the future still? Is that something you want to keep
That's
going?
more post fight. That's more post fight.
Oh, that's post-fight, not pre.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really have pre fight.
Okay. So I must have misread that somewhere. I thought that was your pre-fight. Okay. You know what? With the Coca-Cola and Italian food makes a lot more sense post-fight than pre-fight. I
mm,
was kind of like, why is he doing that? But thanks for clarifying
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Imagine that.
yeah.
Like I eat pasta and I drink Coca-Cola the night before the fight. What do you do, motherfucker? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, no, yeah. Mm, I mean, I would eat it. If it's there, I would eat it. But usually my nutritionists have something else for me. But sometimes I have been eating pasta, like
Well,
small.
pasta's not bad, right? It's pretty good
No,
carbs, right?
no,
Depends what
because
you eat it with.
you need carbs after a brutal weight cut like that. So yeah, but I don't really have any pre-fight
No
what do you call it,
pre-fight traditions,
traditions.
no.
No, not really. I used to have when I boxed and shit, like, oh, I have to wear the same socks and shit. But then you lose a fight with those socks. I'm like, man, fuck this shit. That shit don't work. And I'm like, my pre-fight tradition is I have no tradition.
Well, you know what Conor McGregor used to say that the pre-fight tradition and all that crap is for losers. So that's what he used to say.
Probably, yeah,
Yeah. So listen, I see you post a lot of the old boxing videos on your Instagram and all that stuff. You even brought it up a couple times that, old back in the day. And it's funny because when I was writing the question of or thinking of the question of the fact that you fought 18 times since 2015, which is still
mm,
a fact, I was thinking in my head, like, well, maybe that's not that much to him because, in boxing, they used to fight like every month, right? So it's
yeah.
funny that you brought that up. But do you enjoy watching boxing? Like I see you put that a lot on your
I
Instagram.
enjoy
Like,
boxing way more than MMA. I
really?
actually I actually have one pro boxing match as well, which people don't know. But back in 2016 or 15, 16, 15,
It
back in
was recent too.
2015, I had a pro boxing match. Yeah. So yeah, that's
Are
my
you gonna
favorite
go? Are
sport.
you gonna box again one day? Is that possible?
Nah, it was more like a childhood dream coming true because actually my transition into MMA came from boxing. So I started wrestling when I was a kid, and then I started boxing. But because the way the Danish Boxing Federation ran shit here, they pretty much sabotage it in a way that like you have to box like only straight punches and like that old school Eastern European chin tall jab like Klitschko style, right? And I
Right.
was I was not very tall, so I tried to like bob and weave and throw hooks. Every time I threw a hook, they would say, "Oh, you hitting with the inside of the glove." I would get point deducted. Every time I would duck under punches, they, "Oh, keep your head up," so I would get disqualified, shit like that. So I was like, man, fuck this shit. Like they're ruining the sport here. So it's like one of my friends was doing MMA. Let me try that, and I went up there and I was 17 and I could go toe to toe with the pros back then, and we had like a dude who was Cage Warriors champ at that time, and he took me under the wing, and then that's how I got into MMA from boxing. So yeah, boxing is my favorite sport.
So you like watching boxing more, but you like competing. You like the act of mixed martial arts more, right? You like to do mixed martial arts more, right? Is that fair or no?
I think it's
Because you are an MMA fighter. Otherwise, you'd be a
I,
boxer, wouldn't you?
no, I wouldn't because there's absolutely no chances here in Denmark of having any success
Really?
of being a boxer. After we had a world champ called Mikhail Kessler, he was like pretty much ruling the super middleweight weight class. And when he stopped, boxing pretty much died with him out here. But yeah, I love the act of MMA because I love grappling. Grappling is dog shit boring to watch, but it's funny to do. And
Not to me,
boxing,
but for sure to most people, yeah,
yeah, yeah, and boxing is fun too. So in MMA, you get the best of both worlds.
definitely. And as far as Denmark, you said not much success in the boxing, but MMA, are there any like champions of great champions in MMA?
I
Kind
mean,
of
we
off
have
the
a
top of
couple
your
of
head,
dudes in UFC. We have Mark Madsen. He's a Olympic silver medalist.
right?
In Greco, he's in UFC, and we have Soren Bach. He's in Bellator as well. Former Cage Warriors champ. We have me. I'm former Cage Warriors champ and Bellator UFC vet. And then we have Damir Hatzovic. He's in UFC. Nicholas
Right.
Dalby. He's in UFC. So
Oh,
there's
there
a
you go.
couple of. Let's take up. I mean, considering we only 5 million, I think that's pretty impressive.
Well, what an opportunity you have to become a major organizational champion, being from
Yeah.
Denmark, representing the country, man. So I'm sure that's another little
Oh,
accomplishment
that
you
is
could add to your
definitely,
list.
definitely. I'm the one who's been closest as well. Oh, Campman is from Martin Campman. How can I forget? He's from Denmark too.
Oh,
He
that's
did
right.
it good too. He's
Yeah,
fucking great. He was close as well. He was
he
probably
was.
1 or 2 wins away from fighting for the title against GSP. He's
Absolutely.
a killer too.
And listen, man, you were very close at certain points, and I think you're gonna put yourself in a position to get back very close to a championship in the future, man. And I think that's a good wrapping point to have you on the show. We're very excited to see what's in your future. Again, we just hinted at it. Let's see what happens for you. We're gonna be rooting for you, man. I think you have a very bright future ahead.
My
And
man.
again, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for talking with us and sharing, and we really appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me, man. And I appreciate you having me on.